Oh, man, like Lige in the building.
Or you want a picture of like where my head is, like an overlap between.
I don't read enough, you know. Shit.
Makes your life easier. Someone said it before. Believe it or not. You're not the only person to go through this, Despa. Don't worry.
You know what? That's really on point, you know. That's really on point. You're not the only person to go through this.
No.
Sometimes you think it's just you and you're the only one. And oh my God, I'm in pain and you're the only person that's in pain. And really, you're not.
No.
You're not the only person to have gone through this. And as they say, no idea is original.
Nope.
So, Lige.
That's me.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Elijah. Currently of Make the Ting, Yellow Squares fame.
Yeah.
But the history is vast and you've done a lot over a period of time. Some things we've touched on together. You've gone off and done amazing things. So what I wanted to do today is thank you for coming in. I wanted to have a conversation with you today and kind of figure out kind of what your journey's been, where you're coming from and where you're at present and where you're going really. So thank you for coming to talk to me.
Thank you for having me. It's overdue, like coming to Birmingham and just like chopping it up. Like, we've done this over text for like 15 years.
This is the thing, man. We've been talking for like years, man.
Yeah.
Even like booked you, man, in LA one time. We were chatting and is Royal still with the girl that met over there?
Yeah, married.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Does he live there? Does he still live here?
No, he lives in London.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was 10 years ago.
Raw.
Yeah.
Echo Park was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
March 2014.
Yeah, that's going.
It was the week that That's Not Me surfaced. Yeah, the same week.
So wait, did you play that at the show?
No.
Did it come out afterwards?
It came out afterwards. So originally, Skepta dropped the 10-minute video with them, man.
Yeah.
And it was that week. And I did a panel with him in New York about grime and this possibility of breaking America in 2014.
So that was just before the resurgence.
Yeah.
So remind me.
So December, like the German whip was popping off, just December 2014.
That was the real beginning.
And then
when that started to build.
Yeah, it was like, it was going.
Yeah.
And then That's Not Me kind of like wide open. And then Know Me From, Novelist, Take Time, Despa, Murder. Like, all, not Despa, sorry. That's on the Map, Murder. All these tunes just started coming.
Yeah.
All these, it was just tune. It felt like everyone had a big tune at the same time. And I did a compilation of them in like 2015. And it was like 40 hits.
And that time period, there was serious hit records.
Yeah. 18 months of everyone has got one. Then like the following year is like Free Wheel Ups and Man Don't Care and like all of that. All of that stuff. Sick times.
So,
but we knew that at the time. So,
yeah, and you felt it at the time?
Yeah.
That was like, previous to that was, I guess, Team UK was the thing on Twitter at the time. And then I think there was a bit of like, what I did see building in that time period was this idea of pride to be British and making British sounding music. And that was like a sentiment. 'Cause I kind of gauge sentiment sometimes from tweets and comments, and you kind of see where people are at. And that started to build, and then with
Skepta, Ace Hood flow.
Yeah.
The UK's run out of ideas, so they're going on American beats. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Ace Hood, Hustle, Hard Flow. You know what I mean? That song. And Blacklisted. And
Pivot. Blacklisted. Yeah.
The pivot away from the thing before.
And Skepta really led the charge in that, man.
Yeah. It's funny how like leaders lead in so many different ways in different periods of time, through the music, through actions, through like this week. He said, paraphrasing, just like the UK music scene, is there anything organic popping? A few days later, it's on the DJ G stream. So it's like leadership by example. Okay, cool. All right, there's something popping.
What do you think? What did you think of that comment? Because I saw people saying that they thought he was out of touch, which I don't believe of Skepta at all, to be fair. But I saw there was a vast commentary that was like, yo, bro, like, did you really mean this? Because there's a lot going on. What did you think of that comment?
I think this is my observation. If you go out, you don't hear the music. So saying, well, nothing's really going on, if you turn on the radio and you hear Ja Rule, I'm not keep laboring the point, but you don't hear the Mandem. Mandem is gender neutral here. You go to the club, you go to the award show, and you don't hear them. I say, what played at the GRM Awards? Drake and Tupac and whatever, old school garage, and I'm like, why is this okay? I'm like, you got a room full of 200 active black artists in suits, and you don't play their music. Strange. It wouldn't happen anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're surrounded by like other things, other movements and environments, he's traveling the world, see him all over the place, and they play their music.
And so do you think it's possible? This is the thing, because I see Skep as one of the people, like I see him like a Virgil kind of character, and I do, there's a lot of stories and a lot of examples of Virgil kind of being on the pulse, being in people's DMs, being in people's comments, people with less than 1,000 followers.
Yep.
Not the followers is the metric, but you know what I mean. When somebody looks at Virgil, they think, yo, he's like citing what I'm doing. So I see Skep as that kind of person.
Of course, both of them. Jamie and Skepta have put people onto artists, like how DJs do, or like what they're supposed to do. Like I discovered, I found Jim Legacy through Skepta posting the DJ song. I found so many artists through Jamie posted. I found the original from Jamie posting about him. Like that's something they've always done for the last 20 years. Rebound X, Rhythm and Gash, is Skepta taking a song and going, this is tune of the month. This one, and we're going to keep playing it until you like it. And
now it's canon?
Yeah. It's like a club classic.
Yeah.
Have I told you that guy went to my school?
No?
Okay. Yeah, he was in the year below me at school.
Okay.
Just like another strange like link. Everyone always asks me, what happened to him? And I don't know the answer. But it's like just, like when you have a relationship with a tune as a fan, and then you also like, the person, or it's like close to you in some other way. And then I saw that song develop as a tune on a forum to a tune on Rinse to like a genuine club classic that you can hear all around the world.
It's one of those national anthems now.
Yeah,
like you play that anywhere and people are gonna go crazy.
Yeah. And then there's no stream number that
there isn't. There's nothing. There's no number that you're gonna look at and think, like that denotes how big that song is. Nothing at all actually. No. And that's a great point,
Yes.
because I don't even think about that with that song. Yeah. And I don't think anybody does.
Yeah.
Numbers don't matter when you play Rhythm and Gash. It's just Rhythm and Gash.
Exactly.
And it's a banger. And it's one of our kind of like national anthems.
100%. And it's 20 years old.
Bro.
Yeah. It's 2005, 2006. 18 years old.
Yeah.
We're getting to that point now where it's hard to talk about our music as just like avant-garde or like, experimental or fresh. It's like we've been here now. Like
for a long time.
For a long time.
Yeah. Like 20 years is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's older than that, obviously. In terms
I bought Private Caller in 2005 on vinyl. We're getting to that point. So sometimes when people push back on these men being goats, I say, all right, let me check in on
it's what?
In 19 years time.
Who being goats? Because nobody can push back on Skep and Jamie being goats. Do people do that?
Yeah.
Okay, that's mad.
I hear this all the time, and I don't think people realize how difficult this thing is.
Yeah.
And I've had many ups and downs. Not rich, not famous, but every little small window of time, 3 to 5 years, is like a different industry, or has been over the last 20.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So I bought that record in a record shop. There was no MP3. Still don't have the MP3 today.
Mm-hmm.
There's no stream of it. Nothing. The video came on Channel U. Different thing. Then CDs came, but mixtapes, that culture. And then independent albums. Whole industry of distributors that don't exist today. Record shops that don't exist today. Then streaming comes. YouTube. And then it's obviously social media as well. This is not the same music that we grew up with, or the same music industry.
It's not the same infrastructure at all.
At all.
Which a lot of people say we're suffering from, but that's another.
Yeah. So like to me, sometimes when people only know me from the Yellow Square, I'm like, yeah, cool, fair enough. Like that is all I have been in the last 3 years. And that's fair game. That's fair point for someone start from. But then I've survived a pandemic, I guess the second grime wave, then that kind of 210 to I guess the beginning of 2014, like craziness of like people in the industry today telling you your ideas are bad, this music ain't going anywhere, this scene is dead, give it up.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of people were saying.
Yeah, like this was like rational. This is like a rational point of view. This is dead.
Well, if you've been in grime long enough, you've seen that cycle. We're about third or fourth time now in that cycle.
And I hope like the lesson for all of us is like, don't give up on artists, don't give up on people, don't like just be dismissive. That's what I tried not to be with the next generations of things, even if it wasn't my cup of tea musically. I'm like, I'm not a fan of drill, but like let them do their thing and just see how it plays out. Give them time to like find their way and mechanism and audience and talk to their people in the way they want to talk to their people. Just because you don't like it doesn't mean it shouldn't exist, right? And that's what kind of backseat I've taken with certain sounds or scenes or styles of music. I'm like, this is not really for me, so I don't really dive in. But then with things that I do like the jazz corner, some of the alternative rap corner, I guess the electronic side, I'm super loud about the stuff that I like, you know. And occasions like this week where saying DJ AG is the most important DJ in the UK, and then
was that the Guardian article, or did you say that?
I just said that in his comments.
Yeah,
and then someone was reacting like, how could he be the most important DJ? I'm like, okay, who is then? Answer that question. If you can't answer that question, then, and this is good thought exercise. You don't have to agree. It's actually easier if you don't agree because it makes you think.
Yeah,
who is the most important DJ in the UK, and why is a DJ AG important? Yeah, and or just why?
Yeah, because it's platform and it's energy, it's vibe, man. It's
and like us calling something important.
Yeah,
is important. Like not cool, not nang, important. You know what I'm saying? And I've been through so many waves where people have been doing important things, but it's not been seen as important. And just saying it's important at the time that it's happening makes people go, actually, yeah, let's put this man on the television. Let's put him in the Guardian. All right, man, them turn up for him. Sick. But that feedback loop happening in 2 weeks instead of 2 years, or when man passes away, or, you know, when he's walking down the thing getting his MBE. Let's do that now, just in case. Because there's no guarantee with this thing. And the feedback loop is speeding up so fast. So just say it. You see something that's sick, say it's sick, or say it's important, or say, put it in your feed. Do a post and say, no, that tune's cold. It helps a lot.
I want to go back to, you know, we've started in not a skewed way, but we started in this, however these things start, they start. But I want to talk about you.
Yeah.
You know, you're doing important things right now, but I want to talk about how that got started for you. And how you even got your start in music, kind of like from a historical point of view. So what was home life like for you growing up?
It was reasonably straightforward. I don't like elaborating about personal experiences that much because I feel like it's like telling everyone's story at the same time, and I feel like I haven't been given the artistic license to do that yet. Maybe one day.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
And I enjoy the being able to separate my Elijah on the internet and then my life. You know what I'm saying? But in the most straightforward way, I was lucky. I had my own bedroom and a radio.
So you had your own world. I was going to ask you.
I can scroll the dial as a British Jamaican parents. Dad lived in Jamaica. Mum lived in London with me. And being able to scroll, hear Jamaica or like Jamaican records, scroll, hear British records, scroll again, you hear pop, whatever, Spice Girl, whatever. Like that was my like dial into the world. I didn't have a TV in my room until I was like, a teenager. So imagine if you're like 10 years old, 11 years old, you hear Bad Boys in the London, Rude Boys in it, Kingston. Like, I'm like, oh, that's me. Sick. Like, the record is talking about me. I am the original now. That's how like vivid these things are to me.
Yeah.
I hear the way people talk about So Solid and these things, and like they feel like they were in So Solid or something like that.
I felt like that when I was
exactly. And even the same, not to jump ahead, but like I'll bring it back. Like with Boy Better Know, when I was starting my creative journey, I was like, oh, I'm the boy that should know. That was the make the thing of this time for all of us, right? It was like, oh, Boy Better Know, right? The t-shirt, right? Cool, we gotta go. But yeah, my early life is that just okay. Radio, obviously like music was present, but I was in a very like was that bouncing between radio, I guess, reading, PlayStation, and just being outside. Like so much of my life was like not indoors. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
When I compare it to young people today, I'm like, oh, you're going from one place to another. I was outside doing stuff in between places, listening to music outside, playing football, doing this. And then I guess like where my creative story picks up is being in school, pirate, like the voices on pirate radio are now my age. Like one of the people in my class was on the set in Conflict, for example. The Conflict set.
Yeah.
Lady Fury was in my class.
Okay. So Fury's in your class?
Yeah.
Legend.
Yeah. So imagine like these, you're seeing these things happen or listening to them. I didn't even see it at the time. You're hearing these things. And it's like, oh, it feels important. Like, but again, there was no language to be like, oh, this is important. But it felt special. But I didn't really have it's like, oh, this is sick. But you just don't know what it is, innit?
You don't have the hindsight to know that you're living through history as it's happening.
Nah,
but sometimes you can get an idea that you're making it, maybe.
Yeah.
But you don't have the hindsight to be like, okay, like this is like gonna, 5-10 years, we're gonna look at these times.
I wasn't thinking that. Yeah. And then I guess I was an internet kid as well. So my feeling, I guess, post Boy in the Corner coming out and a lot of the records at that time, this is me first going to raves. So 2003 summer is my first summer outside, basically, as a 16-year-old. 16 summer 2003, finished my GCSEs, so I'm on the road now. Like that's literally the first summer outside. I Love You, Stop That, Stop That, Get Up What. And then the next year, first year of college, is like whatever, February, POW, like Ford Rhythm. Like, like, and it's when I talk about these records, like it's not like a song that is on like some sort of distant thing. It's like people that you see, like, on the road, like they're literally just there.
And the thing is, I just want to, for somebody coming from outside of London,
yes,
there were people, I was in London a fair bit on and off, but like on the whole, you're experiencing that from tape packs, from people recording pirate radio and that traveling, a tape traveling up to ends and somebody copying it. You're experiencing it from DVDs. You're experiencing it from a point of view of looking from the outside and looking in. And you don't see those people every day. So for you, being in the mix of kind of like grime, the legends that are now, but they were everyday people. How did that feel for you? Like seeing the guy in red, like knowing this, you know what I'm saying?
It felt special, but like again, like it wasn't valued. So it's like I bought a camera and I was like filming pirate sets, and then like I made a DVD with my friend early. Like this is I guess after the first Risky Roads, this is like 2005, just before I went to university. But again, it wasn't really valued wider. And I guess the other bit of my blind spot culturally is I hadn't been to the rest of the country. I didn't go anywhere else in England until I started DJing.
And how old were you when you started DJing?
When I first started playing was like 21. Like when I first started playing out. Like the first time I came to Birmingham was to DJ. I'd never, like the only place I'd been outside of London was Brighton, like on like family trip or something. I'd like never like gone to like Manchester, Sheffield, Leeds, Birmingham, Bristol until DJing. So I just like, I was like, oh, I like just was like, oh, you didn't even get this firsthand. It was all like in different time things, different contexts. The music that sometimes when I got to certain places, like people would like mix like grime and bassline, for example, and stuff like that. It was just like, oh yeah, like that makes sense. But I just didn't have as much communication with people outside as did.
And then so your world was
so small, bro.
that formative kind of, but you're seeing all of this stuff happen, but that is you're in it, but that's your kind of worldview at that time.
Yeah. And then so basically I went to university in Hertfordshire, which is like the next county to London. And then I started meeting people from outside London. And then I remember like being in like the university halls, and then I kept on saying safe to this guy because what I said. And then one day he stopped me and goes, "Why do you keep saying safe?" And he and I was like, "What do you mean?" And he's like, "What's safe? Like what is that?" He's like never even heard that term. And I was like, "Oh, I actually had to pull up a chair." I was like,
"Are you sitting down?" Sat him down and said, "Hey, guy, this is what safe."
No, I was just like, "What don't you know?" I was like, "Oh, because I just thought that the way I speak was just how everyone spoke." Because I hadn't even been exposed to that enough people from outside London before, so I was just so ignorant. And I was like showing him tunes he'd never heard of, like grime or nothing. Like it's just like mid 05. So it's not like some big scene or something. But I thought, oh, you ain't heard of Kano? No. Okay, mad. Like never been exposed to it.
Yeah, that's like, I think from a point of view of being like a early, because obviously we went through jungle, garage, grime.
Yeah.
And it felt like a relay race.
Yeah.
Like if you're into those scenes,
yeah,
all those scenes kind of connected to each other, and you kind of, if you were into them, you would go from that one to that one to that one.
Mm-hmm.
To think somebody, and you're sitting down and playing like grime to them and explaining to them who Kano is.
Yeah.
I've done it with other music. It's just like for you though, being there in the mix with those people and being a kind of almost like a young cultural ambassador.
Yeah.
For that.
Exactly.
That's really,
like part of that's probably what inspired
really
me to like write like the blog. Like when I first kind of got on the internet, like as Elijah, it was like, okay, I'm writing a blog like about grime, but it was like from the perspective of someone that is from East London, but is talking to people that are not in it, the head in it as much. You know what I'm saying? So like, this sounds really basic, but one of the things that me and Will would do is like we'd put the track list in with our radio shows, yeah. And at the time, because it was like the previous generation was like pirate, they were like, okay, we just do the show, we'll go yard, that's it. There was no podcast, there was no audio, that was it. It was like we were like recording, like leaving the house, setting the recorder, and then going back in the house afterwards. Okay, we've got the recording, uploading it onto the internet and putting a track list in with it. And then
where did you upload it to? Was it SoundClick?
No, it was a MediaFire. So like the original,
the straight download.
Yeah, straight download.
No streaming, just straight download.
That was before I even knew about this thing.
Yeah.
So straight MediaFire, and the account was like still there until recently. And it's mad because what happened is, because people could see what I was playing, a whole bunch of other producers were like, I want to be on that, I want to be played. And I just got to start sending tunes. Whereas like now, I think that wouldn't happen just because like everyone's used to sharing like music in a completely different way. So like our advantage maybe at the beginning was just sharing a lot of information and talking to people that are not within the scene. And like, that's probably how I learned like how to like communicate outwardly, even though my world at that time was really small.
And then communicate outwardly because people are out there wanting to grab onto those threads and be brought in to a scene. And if you're expressing yourself out there, people are going to find it. Is that
yeah, and just making it easy for people, you know? Like,
like signposting in a way.
Yeah. And because I realized that so much stuff I did was like instinctive, or like, oh, I just knew that, okay, this fit, or Noom Channels on 7 to 9 rinse. Like, how else would you know that? Like, apart from having listened to that, or Roll Deeper 9 to 11 Sundays. What's Super Sunday? Well, this. Yeah, I mean, there's all of these like little things that you get to like learn or like rhythmically learn if you are into that thing. Like if you watch football, you know there's like 3 o'clock games on Saturdays and then a 3 o'clock on Sunday, and Monday Night Football 8 o'clock. Like you just know that. Whereas if you're trying to explain that to someone that's never seen Premier League before, they'll be like, oh, why do they play on Mondays at 8 o'clock? You know what I mean? You don't even think. You're like, oh yeah, like, there's a reason, but never been explained to you.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things like that, and especially in grime, where I think they have been taken as like the rules, but they were more like just the forms that got established because there wasn't anything else that people could do. You know?
Even something as kind of instrumental as the reload.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the fact that people don't understand the reload.
Yep.
Like, why do they keep rewinding it? Because it's fucking sick.
Yeah. 100%.
And the roots of that in terms of dancehall culture and that kind of stuff. Being able to explain that stuff to people is kind of, it's important still.
It's important.
Because it's a thing that you, unless you know that you're supposed to be really happy that happens.
Yeah.
And you could be like, yo, this is irritating. I wanted to listen to the song. Like,
yeah, I've been thinking about like the birth of like a sound, a scene, and a genre being three distinctively different things.
mm-hmm.
And I guess people say, oh, like, say like the godfather of grime is like Wiley, for example. I'm like, okay, if he's the godfather, but then who made the first tune? Is Pulse X the first tune? Before there was like a name for that scene, maybe. But then Wiley made What Do You Call It and doesn't say grime in the song. The first time really grime is like mentioned regularly is on Dizzy Rascal Showtime. He mentions it, and then Kano does on Mic Check on Home to Your Home. It's like, what do you call it? Garage. What do you call it? Grime. Call it what you want to call it. I'm fine. Like, I don't. If there's songs before that mention it, let me know. But those are the first two prominent things. That's only 05. So I'm like, does the scene start in 05 then? Rather than the things that before.
In terms of encapsulating that it's called grime.
Yeah.
So I think
and a recorded genre with albums and structure.
When did Treading on Thin Ice come out?
05 as well, I think.
And that would have been, but the thing is, the interesting point about that time and being a listener in that stage was remembering that I believe there was like 3 competing names.
Mm-hmm.
Esky Beat.
Yep.
Sublo, I think, was one of them.
Yep.
And which is Johnny Cash.
Yep.
And Grime started to come out. And if there was another one, let me know. But those are the 3 that I remember. Mm-hmm. And then Grime ended up being the kind of the one that got put over, basically.
Yeah. I don't know why. I don't know why that stuck. Like grimy garage, grime.
Yeah.
And I remember like for a long time people say, "Hey, I don't make that. Like, what you call my music grime for?" Like, I understand.
Yeah, because it was kind of like, it is a dirty word.
Yeah, it literally is a dirty word.
And at the time though, it felt like people were pushing back against that. Now I do remember that now.
Yeah, I remember having conversations at the time. I'm like, okay, well, I remember reading that people didn't like the name Jungle. Like, I don't make no music. I'm not like Jungle. This ain't no monkey business. Like
I can see that.
So the names are not perfect, but they sometimes they just stick and they work. And
then
it
is what it is.
The people that, again, I'm no jungle drum bass historian here, but some of the people that I guess that say, all right, cool, we're doing drum and bass now, is like not wanting to call their music jungle. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And having a distinct, like, okay, we're not associating ourselves with that.
Mm-hmm.
We're not rooted in ragga and reggae and all that stuff. We're doing something different.
And this is what this is called.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously we talk about drum and bass, jungle and DJ culture. Like, when did you start DJing and why though? Like, why did you start DJing?
Okay, the first wave of me DJing is like probably the end of 2005, because at the time you could only get those records, the grime music, on vinyl pretty much. And what I thought, I love DJing and DJ culture and pirate radio and the DJ thing. I was like, these people are sick. Like, they just look like magicians to me, right?
And that's why I would never, even though I can play tunes, I would never call myself a DJ. There's a respect to that, and I respect exactly what you've just said.
Bruv, I looked at what EZ was doing. I thought, that's out of reach.
And that's exactly what I say as well.
Yeah, I'm like, okay. And then obviously later on, Logan, Spiral, all these people, I was like, that's too much for me. I don't know what they're doing, but that's too much.
Yeah.
Anyway, but what I did think is, especially when I started going out, I saw like a lot of DJs just play whatever the tunes were popping at the time, dancehall, whatever. I was like, I could contribute something to this thing that is local, like in an interesting way. I don't know what, but I could just play dancehall, play Sean Paul, Beanie Man, whatever. But I'm not there. I'm not in that thing. You know what I'm saying? Whereas grime, I was like, like I can do something. I was like, I used to say to my mom, like, I want to be like a DJ and journalist at the same time.
And you knew that from that early?
Yeah, like it was like.
And how old were you?
Like 18.
Okay. I mean, it's an age to understand yourself, but still, that's having that definition.
Yeah.
At that
because there wasn't like the blogger thing wasn't like a money thing. It was just like, okay, that was like kind of like the journalism of his day. But I was like, and then later on, I remember when I finished uni, it was like 2009, and I joined Rinse like in the time I was at uni, and I was like, oh, like the not some dream, but like the duality of being on Rinse and like writing for like The Guardian.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that would be kind of cool, because there would be like, usually you're either over there or over here, but I thought, okay, if I got to be in both sections as like a pirate in a scene, active, but then also being like a commentator, and I never really cracked it. It's only like recently, I guess I'm doing both, but that was like my first kind of vision. But I wasn't successful at that. I just had to do other stuff, like, you know, like the label and all this stuff later. That was like, instead, I guess I couldn't be a critic until I'd done something myself. Maybe I've only got some like kind of license as a critic now, because I've got some skin in it. Got some skin in the game. Yeah,
you've got the kind of what they call lived experience of
scars.
yeah, I've got some too. I understand that.
You know, I've got these scars. Yeah, and I think even the support that I got from the grime scene that existed is like, they saw people like you and me putting money, resources, time on the line, and they're like, all right, cool, like we support in some whatever we can do. Oh, that person looks like they're doing something. Yeah, we should back that thing. You know what I mean? And I was kind of surprised. Like, I never really got any resistance from anyone in the grime scene in a big way. Everyone's like, oh, you're doing something. You want to put out records?
Yeah, and
sick.
And what you have done has always been great work. From me looking, again, from the outside looking in, the branding of it, the just the quality of what you've been doing, you know, the diligence in it all, the events, the just everything butters, man. Like, and I'm gonna get onto that.
Yeah.
Especially the whole yellow thing. But I'm gonna backtrack a little bit. What was the you started DJing and your first station was?
Properly, it was like university radio station, so Crush Radio at Hertfordshire University. Yeah, that was it with Will. So me and Will Skilliam is like, I could like mix before, but I feel like Will taught me how to DJ. You know what I'm saying?
And are you and Will childhood friends, or did you meet at uni?
No, we met at university. That was the only useful thing at university, was me and Skilliam. Skilliam was like the degree, like that time that we spent together.
That's amazing.
And the friendship formation and the trust building, and like, I guess him also taking the leap with me. Yeah, that's the only useful thing that came out of that time.
And then from uni and meeting each other at uni, and did you form Butters at uni, or did you kind of, was it Elijah and Skilliam?
Yeah, it was kind of like,
was
the original, again, not hard. The reason the blog was called Butters, the blog was called Butters, right?
Yeah.
Was because I heard Skepta on the radio say, oh, this tune's very Butters. Oh, this tune's Butters, reel it up. And I found the clip of it like about 6 months ago. I never heard it since.
Yeah.
And that's why the thing was called Butters.
Oh.
And then I just like, okay, that's a cool name. Just started the blog on a random Sunday and started writing about music. And then I was like, okay, we should just use that name as like the container for like the DJing and stuff. And then we just used that name eventually for the label. So really, if I was gonna like think like, and just not be in complete flow, I would have like maybe come up with a different name for the label and like some cool branding and stuff. I was like, oh, we've just got something here. We got a blog. Just put it there. I didn't think about it that much. But maybe that sometimes, a lot of the time, it's probably just so the thing got done. It didn't really matter what it was called. You know what I'm saying?
Well, eventually it did.
Did it?
Well,
I don't think it did.
No, Butters is the label.
Yeah, which I got from Dizzy.
Yeah.
Butters is the label. Is me going. He used to say Dirty Stank is the label. Yeah. And then in the time that I was operating at the beginning, there wasn't any releases. So I was like, no, Butters is the label.
Yeah.
And that's where it came from.
Well, so, you know, the name was the name when you made it, but it became, became an international, recognized brand name.
Uh-huh.
You know, I used to see you guys touring all over the world, playing grime music, and it was Butters, and it was yellow, and it was branded, and you guys were amazing DJs and still are. And that is the thing that, like, you know, tying into the whole make the thing.
Yeah.
You made the thing, didn't think about making a thing, you just made the thing, and the thing became a thing.
Yeah. But then what else was there to do? Like, that was like, I don't think that's that much of a big deal. I was like, the only contribution I could have had to the scene was that. There was not literally, okay, well, I'm here, I'm DJing, well, put out some records. We need someone to play, so and there's no rave, so you've got to do a rave. If the whole infrastructure was there, then I put, like, maybe I wouldn't have started, but it was in that way. It was quite haphazard and just like, all right, we need a rave, so let's do a rave, you know? But that is why I was there. Otherwise, you know, I would have just done something else. Yeah? I think a lot of, like, when I speak to artists now, like people coming through, I'm like, okay, why are you here? Not being rude, but like, and just whatever reason you're here, just start that thing now. Don't say, oh, I'm going to start the label in 2 years, and when I've got everything sorted, and when I've got my mortgage paid and my Mercedes. It's like, well, you probably can't do one without the other. And you're going to learn a lot from just like trying stuff out and experimenting. And if something does hit, then no, you're going to learn a lot more than just watching. Yeah.
Do you think that one of your strengths is kind of removing the friction and just getting started? Because a lot of people, as you just kind of mentioned, will be kind of hesitant to start. There's this, there's that, and then they just won't start the thing.
Yeah.
Do you think that's one of your strengths?
I think I just had less distraction at that time. Like now, obviously, you can have a Instagram account. You follow everyone. Everyone's doing sick stuff, like brand deal, flying all over. Like no one really saw what I was doing. So, and then I wasn't seeing what other people were doing either that much. So, whereas now you've got a whole feed of people constantly. Okay, I'm launching a hat in Korea. I'm doing a collab with Nike. I'm doing it. Like, so it does feel like, oh, I need to have all these things in place. Whereas I guess when we started, it was like, well, what's your reference point? Yeah, like I said, I saw a Boy Better Know t-shirt, some mixtapes, and what this infrastructure of Rinse, and a couple clubs and some record shops, and the internet, and I used it in a different way to most people. Like, all right, that's enough. Go. Whereas if I saw maybe 20 people, 20 butters already, maybe I just wouldn't have started the 21st. So I can see why that happens.
And you think you started it because you didn't see what was there that you needed to kind of
100%.
Put that around yourself to go.
Yeah. But I don't want to discourage that. I'm like, no, that the reason why even that didn't even continue is because I needed 21 of those things, not 4. And more people like, yeah, there's a sacrifice and commitment, and like it's hard, man. Like maybe we'll talk about it a bit later, but it's hard. But I'm like, I still don't have any regrets with that.
Do you consider yourself? I know you came afterwards, but do you consider yourself one of the pioneers of grime music around the world? Tell me why.
Because them man built, I'd say, before I had any visibility. First of all, like I wouldn't have a career or some sort of journey without the platform of Rinse. And the crew that built that. Like it needs that to get this. And then I needed to be inspired by all of this stuff that came before to have a blueprint of where we want to take it next. So there is I feel like there's a first generation layer of pioneers, and then there's like a second gen that I'll say I'm included in. The international bit is just technology. I don't think that's as much as me going like, I'm going to bring this around the world. Like it's just the technology change that gave us that advantage. Whereas if you're on ends in 2002 and the pirate radio stream only reaches 10-mile radius, then that's not your. They might have had the same artistic vision as me, but there wasn't an internet.
Yeah, because what I was going to say is I feel like from an international point of view, it did seem like you guys. I mean, you can tell me like, but where have you played grime music, or where have you not played grime music? Like
I've only not been on the continent of Africa, but I think I've been to about 40 countries, some regularly that people would not expect, and And this continues today. Yeah, I was like in Wuppertal in Germany on the weekend. I'm going to Bilbao on Tuesday, and I'm like, that's been part of our story and an important part in terms of broadening my perspective and experience, and it's changed my life. Like changed my like how I see the world from being on ends until effectively 21, and then seeing the rest of the world, the changes in society, the how where your music and art sits in different cultures. You're like, okay, cool. Like it does feed it back into the work. But yeah, I've been a lot of places, man. And yeah, I think it's a gift that I would wish I could give to more people. 100% is not travel, but experiencing countries, not traveling to them and playing a show
and docking out.
No, experiencing places. It's very different.
Where's been your favorite place to play, and then also, I guess, experience also? So that could be two different things, but it's an interesting thing that I want to know about.
Yeah, it sounds like corny, and I think I've said it like loads of different times, and a lot of people say it, but the experience of me playing in Japan is and was special, and it's not even just for the maybe the reasons that you think. Is that at that time? So this is the first time I went there. Is October 2014, and I think I was doing way too much, and I think I was just like hitting the kind of when you're hitting your limit,
mm-hmm.
and then I
know that feeling.
Yes, I was on rinse, and I asked for some time off to go and do this tour, and they said no, and the last show I did on rinse till to this day is 10 years ago, September 2014, and Stormzy's on that set like that, and the clips come up on Instagram quite a lot, and when you realize how tired you are, and that trip allowed me and Will to reset and like figure out what we're going to do next, and just like acknowledge like all of those kind of achievements, and then like the peace that I was able to play in that place with, because I was at peace, what just like gave me like such a renewed energy. And then the next 3 years was like the real kind of like leg up that, but without that break in time, that literally 3 weeks in Tokyo, Osaka, Kyoto, Kochi, resetting my brain, seeing a different culture entirely, and being welcomed, being taken care of by many different people, and the show's been sick, reset the whole pattern. And then the next year, for like people that use Discogs, look at what we did in 2015 as a label and as event thing, and it like that 2015 into 2016, and I guess 2017 as well, actually, is this is like life changing. It's mad. So, but I feel like without those 3 weeks in Japan, and we've been, both of us, me and Will, been able to like really take stock of what had happened the 5 years prior.
Mm-hmm.
Like we might not even have made it.
That kind of well-being, peace, and taking time out, that's really important. Have you done that since?
Yeah.
In terms of making sure you've got those breaks for yourself, and you prioritize that?
I don't prioritize it. It's just I did 3 months kind of nomadic in 2023, and I, like a particular part of this, I did 3 weeks in a Muay Thai camp in Thailand, and in that 3 weeks, I wrote effectively the kind of the main squares that I'm known for now, the album with jams, and a few other little small concepts that kind of started just from that downtime. So I had like a week of just sorting out my mind and body, and then 2 weeks of writing, and then that charged up the whole rest of the year. It was mad. It was like February 2023, and like so much of the fabric of those ideas has become the next level of the squares, and I haven't been able to really have a break this year, and I can see like where my ideas and my creativity is hitting walls. I'm like, oh, it's just because I'm tired. You know what I'm saying?
And so you giving yourself that space to create has then given yourself a year of work. Yeah. But now you're at that point where you're like, shit, I need to maybe take some time back out to
100%
gather up that energy again.
And it's crazy because I go through like long periods of like, say, like not posting or like that, and no one notices, because if you come back with something that is good or interesting, then people just pick up where they left off. And I think more people, man, just take the time you need, man. Like, and to hell with it. If you lose followers and people don't engage anymore, it doesn't matter. Trust me. I deleted my whole social media. I had 0 followers. Started again from scratch. 2021 makes no difference. If you're actually about starting from 0,
yeah,
you can do it.
Yeah,
I'm a believer in it, and I'll do it again once this Yellow Square project is done. We go back to 0.
Are you gonna delete it?
I think I'll just start a new account.
Okay. I was about to say, like,
just for archive,
don't delete the archive.
Yeah.
You mentioned Muay Thai.
Yeah.
Japan.
Yes.
I know you for being a lover of wrestling.
Yeah.
Where do you think you found the love for those kind of things? Like, why did you choose going to a Muay Thai camp? How and when did you fall in love with wrestling? And are those things, and then also Japan, obviously Japan's not Thai, Muay Thai, but like, how do those things intertwine? Like,
there's a lot. I think there's a lot of combinations. So growing up watching martial arts films, that was like a staple in my household and family's households. Like, we're watching Jackie Chan films, Bruce Lee films, some of the like early Jet Li films, and that was like canon in my house. Like, we would quote everything, and there was a lot of like, especially in the Bruce Lee ones, it was like using all these like philosophical terms. Okay, like, check this out. Then obviously Wu-Tang, and you just like, what's that from? And Snake and Evil Shadow, like, and then you're watching like all these things. You're like, oh, that's where that came from. So there was like this, I guess. Yeah, that was quite popular in the early 90s, right?
Yeah, bro. I was into that as well. So.
And then like pro wrestling, I've dipped in and out over time, but I think it's just like one of these like pop culture references that people don't put to the forefront. It's something that is more like, if you're a fan of that kind of thing, it's something that you just enjoy by yourself, or you enjoy with a couple of friends, but you don't tweet about it because it's seen as uncool. And what I've tried to do with over the last couple of years, I'm like, let me just tell you where I got this idea from. Like, okay, I got it from NWO. I got this from this promo or whatever. I thought about this.
Hard times.
Yeah, hard times, exactly. I thought about these ideas in relation to this. I thought about character development and brand development in the same way, like say like WWE does. You know what I mean? Like, and part of, I'm jumping around here, but like the Butters idea, it was like a faction. You know what I'm saying? There was like the tag team, Elijah and Skilliam. There is like Flavor D, separate brand, different branding, different look. Royalty, separate thing. You know what I mean? Different look, different ideas. Swindle, again, different. Like, and you put and DJ Q, like, different from a different part of the country.
And I can see the Q. You know, actually, I can see all of the logos.
Yeah. In
my head right now.
100%. And we were like particular about that. And then when you bring it together, it's like a super team. You know what I'm saying? And like we did little projects together, TQD, and all these things that are like trying to be that. Like TQD is like the like DX in China, you know. Like, and we would make fun of that kind of thing, you know, all the time. But as well, all that. Yeah, we was playing around with it, and I think a lot of people hide their references. Where I've tried to be like, hey, I wasn't the only person watching this, surely. Like, we speak about loads of different things. I'm like, all right, let me not hide my references and just leave them open to interpretation. That's the same reason why we got these books and the thing. I don't even want to talk about them, but like, they're just there. Someone will be able to Google it afterwards and be like, oh, what? But yeah, people say, oh, where do you get this idea from? What are you reading or what are you watching? On my Twitter, man, you see.
And I think with you sharing your references, and there being millions of us that are wrestling fans, or millions of us, or, you know, those books that you've mentioned, there could be thousands, hundred thousands of people that are into those books. It does create a relatability. Like, when me and you talk about putting somebody over or doing the business or whatever, like, I'm gassed to be able to have that conversation with you, because we can talk in a language that is a language that's very related to that interest in wrestling. And I think that makes you kind of, the more you share yourself, the more you have an audience of people that can relate to you and understand kind of where you come from, and essentially like why they care about what you do as well.
Exactly. And the amount of people that I've found through like a niche interest, and then they have another interest that I'm also like, oh, like you're a fan of this thing, but you also like this thing. Or like the people that say like are fans of grime, and then you see what they post on their thing. I'm like, oh, right, like they're reading this mad thing, or I'll see them in the theater, or I'll see them somewhere else. How many times that's where you've been in a situation and people are like, oh, how comes you're here? I'm like, oh, we like the same things.
Yeah.
Just not grime, you know, as well as grime, you know.
And it's always a surprise as well. It's always like, yo, I didn't expect to see you here, bro. Like,
exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I'm like, you know, I like art and music and all these different things as well. And again, sharing my references, sharing other things that I enjoy. You know, people. What I've learned from sharing references is people send me more stuff to read, more stuff to watch. Have you checked out this? Have you checked out this? Do you know about this? And the quality of conversations I get from people in real life has gone up the more I've been like, again, sharing things that I enjoy outside of the obvious things, or promoting what rave I'm playing at. Yeah, I'm going to be here, excited to announce here on Friday. But when I actually get to the places, people want to talk about robots and Kenny Omega and New Japan Pro Wrestling and old grime records or whatever baseline tunes that came out in 2007. Like the diversity of conversation is kind of interesting, and that makes me like comfortable in spaces. Whereas before, I think when people only wanted to talk to me about Butters 005, what drums did this person?
Yeah,
let's broaden this out to bring more people in.
And that brings me to a square.
Yes.
Because immediately you said that, and immediately I saw seeing arrows coming out of that. And that was I didn't expect that to happen, so that's really cool. But let's get on to, I want to talk a bit more about wrestling and your combination between that and music.
Okay.
But I do want to get on to Make the Ting, and I'll come back to that in a second. That square and the scene, you know, outwardly and thriving scenes being like that. Where did that come from, and when did that happen in the Muay camp?
No, that was the first square.
Was that the first square?
Yeah, that's the first one. That's July 2021, after everything had opened again, after lockdown. I'd gone to a couple things with Flavor D, and I was like, you know, seeing, I guess, the discourse of the first few raves and stuff. I was like, okay, cool. Back outside now. And, you know, we'd been through a mad thing as a society.
Yep.
Pandemic, George Floyd, life. So things that happened to you outside of that.
Yeah, that period of time, I'll be real, like the pandemic and that period of time completely messed me up, man.
Yeah.
And from a recovery point of view, I feel like I've only recently just recovered.
Yeah. Do you see it as recovery though? Or you just see it as like part? Again, I just see it as like a scar. It's like, okay, that's like I don't think it's like a recovery. I'm just like,
well,
grown from it.
I would say we're gonna put it into scarring terms. I feel like the scar's only just healed.
Okay.
You know, it took a long while for the wound to kind of heal.
Do you feel stronger though? This is the thing. I feel like I've gained from the disorder. This is another theory in this book, but yeah. Yeah,
no, I feel stronger. I feel like I know myself more. Okay. I feel like I have more resilience and coping mechanisms than I did do before, because of the breaks, the mental breaks. Even when I spoke to you earlier on about kind of like taking that time out for yourself, the reason why I was asking you that a bit more in depth was because I know from my own point of view, I've learned that I need to take that time out to recharge, where I wasn't doing that and I wasn't really understanding that I actually needed to do that. So yeah, that's kind of, I've learned a lot from breaking.
Yeah. So like this, basically the scene was like, I guess, had to look inwards because everything was shut. But I wanted, as we came out of the pandemic and out of this thing, to like grow the idea of whatever that thing was. I was seeing people write about what something is. Grime is this. I'm like, is there a grime Bible that I'm just like not seeing or not read, or like, what are you talking about? Jungle is this. I'm like, where's these rule books that people, there was all of this kind of unwritten what something is and what something isn't. I was like, why don't we just use this as a generative term to create and get this thing wider and grow and grow and grow. And obviously things splinter off. People go different ways. That's what makes things interesting. And I think that like there's a good thing. When I say scene, I mean this in the broadest way, or whatever the most generous interpretation of this. I don't mean the grime scene. I mean people actively making stuff today. However you interpret that, whatever's useful to you. And I think that's like more useful than, okay, well, grime, who is that? Who are the active participants? Who is like the, the industry side? Well, it's too confusing. The people making stuff today in England is one thing.
Yeah.
How do we,
rather than segmenting that out into all these?
It does segment as
well. It has to.
Yeah, it does.
It has to. But
let's start from a place of all being
order.
the same. Yeah, exactly. And going from there outwards, especially as things are opening up. Like we didn't know what was going to be.
Yeah.
So we're all starting from the same place and moving outwards. And then I think, like you said, maybe there's dust settling on certain scenes and infrastructures and behaviors. But at that time, who was to know? Like, who was to know what was going to work and what was going to connect? And I thought there would be a bit of a wave of things being the same for a while because say that bookings and clubs and concerts were already committed to. So we're just delivering the work for probably like a year and a half. And then 2023 is when it really began to be like, okay, this is the new kind of next bit. But now we're nearly halfway through the decade, about to begin 25 to 29. And
it does feel that it does really feel like there's a shift happening.
Yeah. When I did that first scene square, I had, on Twitter, I had 100 followers or something. On Instagram, I don't know, like 1,000 or something. Nothing. So, and I got like 3 comments or something. And for me, it was like a reset of my own ideas. Is what I'm saying not even still true? Is what I'm saying even true? Or do other people believe this to be true? And then is that idea still true at scale? I don't know. I still don't know.
So I guess for me, why do you love yellow so much, and why the yellow? Because the whole thing about, I mean, yellow striking or whatever, that's, but I remember that scene square, and it's cool that that's the first one, because as soon as you mention something, bing, in my head, like that's like, it's now for me like an indelible image that's in my mind. And Butters is yellow, and yellow squares are yellow, obviously. Why yellow? And why did you share it that way? Like, what is it? Is it art? Is it?
Yeah.
Why?
You're overthinking this.
Yeah.
So when I started the label, I thought the most of the artwork in the scenes and the broadest sense was like bad. So let's like have no artwork. Let's like take it to no frills. Like strip it that back down to basics. And then luckily when I went to press the first vinyl, they said it was £700 for like full color and £500 for 2 colors. Look at that. So I'm being rewarded for making it cheaper, and we made it black and yellow there. Like it's just 2 striking colors. I just thought, let's just keep it that way. For a while, we I think for the first few years we kept it more or less just that, and it made it stand out. People are like, oh, did you get it from Boy in the Corner? I'm like, or Wu-Tang, or I'm like, nah, it was just like just 2 striking colors to work with, the 2 boldest combinations. That was it. And then the reason why I did it on black and yellow, the yellow squares or the drawings, is because it was just like aligning with the Butters brand. And then people were like, oh, was it a post-it note thing? I was like, oh yeah, didn't even think of that. Originally, I drew that same scene thing on paper, and then a DJ Jubilee said, oh, you should put it on Instagram. I was like, oh, it still look rubbish on paper. So I bought an iPad, got Procreate, just like literally just default settings, yellow, drew the same thing, posted it like the next week or something. So basically it's mad, this whole project, yeah, that whatever the iPad was like £500 or something. And then that was like the most money I think I've spent collectively for that project. The whole thing has been drawn on this iPad from July 2021.
I'm not shocked at all.
So say like $5 is what I started the label on, and then $5 is what I've on. It's like
yeah. It's just taking
50 days later or whatever,
taking the idea and making that work.
Yeah.
And I'm not shocked at all by that. But I'm glad that you said I was overthinking it.
Yeah.
Because the simplicity of what you just said in terms of necessity of like, yo, 2 striking colours, just did it. You know, starting the yellow squares thing, and the fact that you weren't even thinking about post-it notes.
No.
Because me personally, when I started coming across the work, and I reached out to you and I was like, yo, don't stop.
Yeah.
Because I can see this becoming iconic.
Yeah, that's exactly what you said.
That's like, I could just like, I don't know, like sometimes I will see something and we'll just know. Sometimes you can make the thing that you know.
Yeah.
Or sometimes you can see the thing and be like, I can see that.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
I know, you know, when it landed, it was just before it started to go. It was like, so this, you messaged me this in September 2021. And then in October, like, I had just like a mad personal issue that had to stop for like 3 months, which no one even knows now. And then I rebooted the whole thing in January 2022. So I actually scraped the page, redrew everything, and then started again from scratch. So all of the things on Instagram now, just the ones from 2022. So when you messaged me, I was like, oh, right, like, this is like mad encouraging. Like, I need to keep going. And then there was just a point where I couldn't do both things at the same time. So I just focused on getting the other things I needed to get sorted, and having I was like, you know what, even if I didn't come back to it, I feel like I'd done something positive. But then January came around and I was like, all right, no matter what happens, whatever life throws at me, let's do this for a whole year and see where things are at. And then I had that little downtime in 2023, and then that was like, all right, cool. I can see a clear route to something that I don't know where it's gonna land or what it is, but it may all make sense in the end. And that's where that saying started as well. Yeah.
It may all make sense.
Yeah, I don't know, but it's going somewhere. Then we just keep going.
What was, you know, it could be one moment, could be a group of things, could be a few comments, what was the moment when you felt to yourself, you know what, I need to carry on with this. Like this may all make sense in the end. Like what was that moment? You remember?
There's been a few. So like, you know, like when you're doing something, you have like these, you say like you saying, okay, you're about to become an icon. Okay, cool. That's like one step. Then there's like maybe like a Fortet wanting to do one for me. This is early in the project. Like maybe after doing like 10 squares. All right, cool. That's another thing. And then close out, make the thing just as a container of ideas.
And that is a generational quote.
Yeah.
Like that's like, I don't know whether that was before or after I said, yo, you're about to be iconic.
Yeah, that was like the next year. It's
see, like, that when I saw that, I was like,
yeah.
So
and,
simple,
and
but
mad.
So effective and important, and it's like a call. It's a call to action, obviously.
Yes.
But it's such a representation of modern times, because procrastination is
100%.
I'm on my phone. Oh shit! I'm on my phone. I'm not making a thing. And you've just said, as somebody that is closing the app and making the thing, close the app, make the thing, and it's as simple as that.
Yep.
Just do what you want to do. I don't know, man. I think this.
I got so lucky, bruv.
Yeah. Well, how like?
It was just all it was a response to a DM. That's it. Someone asking me for advice on like a Sunday afternoon, June 2022.
Yeah.
And I was like, close out, make the thing. Like, I ain't got no idea. I don't know.
Yeah.
Close out, and then I just literally wrote it down, posted it, and then left it, and it was like got like 6 comments, and I was like, no, there's something to it. And a couple people messaged me privately. It was like, yeah, that's it, innit? Because
it hits you straight. You know what it is? A lot of us are procrastinating.
Yeah, it's a mirror.
You know, so it's it's an immediate.
Yeah.
It's an immediate mirror, as you just said. Like a lot of us are not doing that. We're on the app, not making the thing.
100%.
So I can imagine that just felt like one of those things that just spread like wildfire.
And I realized that you need, irrespective of where the project went next, having that as a hook was like super, super helpful. And then I did the lecture at Altinet. So it was like a big screen thing with like D-Double came out at the lecture. Again, like trying to layer my like, I guess writing, being a DJ and a journalist, and putting them together. So like bringing out DWE at Electra. This is like, I'm sure no one's done this before. And who else would do that apart from me? And like doing the thing that only I could do. I'm like, yeah, that's what I should be doing. And that's what we should be doing. Only the thing that you could do or I could do.
Where do you get that? And I love that, by the way. I need to say that. I think there's a lot of doubt in people's minds about their own power and place, who they are, what they do, what they're good at, what they should continue to do, etc. Where do you get that kind of like clear idea for yourself? Like, okay, I'm Elijah and I like this and I'm going to do this. I'm going to put this out and only I can do this. Like, where did you get that kind of like self-identity from, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Oh man, this has taken a very long time for my like interests and skills to align to something that is like resonates with people maybe in this way. So I haven't changed that much, like the things I read and the things I watch and the things I consume, but then the actual platforms and maybe the way things have just gone in my favor. You know what I mean? Sometimes that's what it is. And then there's going to be a time when it cycles out. And that's completely fine. But I think, you know, I'll be super honest, man. Like the experience I had with working with the kind of wizards that I was working with, you know, Swindle, DJ Q, Flavor D, Royalty, all these people that's super talented, man. And you're just like, all right, I need to be like that, but for me. You know what I'm saying? I didn't want to be like them. I could see like their individual powers all the time. You know what I mean? And trying and helping them dial up the things that they're really good at. And that helped me like realize, okay, maybe I'm not like a good beat maker, but there is value in the things that I'm able to like communicate ideas really quickly or recognize the value in someone or something. You know what I mean? Because to someone else, it was just, it's just Flavor D, like she's just making beats for Grime MCs. And I was like, it's Flavor D, like she's making beats, like who is this person? Like, you know what I mean? Different thing. And I've seen what happened to me, people did that for me as well. So I see the way I was gassed about Flav and Cam and all these people, Swindle. Other people were like, no, you're sick. So like I've had to, you know what I mean? I'm passing that on to like when I, you know, see okay, AG or Jim Legacy or Sharice C or Hagen, Nuria, all these people, I'm like, yeah, you're sick. Even just before like everyone else sees that you're sick. You have to say it, bro.
No, you have to.
Otherwise, people don't know.
See, this is why I don't, you know, when I upfitted, it's a long time away from now, but when I do pass, hopefully people share all the DMs that I sent them that nobody knows about.
No. They should say.
No. Just like, or don't share the DMs.
Yeah.
But the moments when I randomly am scrolling the internet and I see something and just jump in somebody's DM and say whatever I say to them, which is always positive, yeah. Mm-hmm. And I do that because people have to know. Yeah. Like I do that because there's times that I don't know or I didn't know. Yeah. And somebody will come up to me in the street or they would DM me or they would say something. People don't understand the amount of energy that can give you or where you're at the time where you need that thing. Mm-hmm. And if I can give it to somebody, then I just will. It's not costing me anything. 100%. But it might be effective for them. Mm-hmm. So I'm glad you said that because that's really an important thing.
I've been super lucky in having like my ideas validated and been believed in by people and been given opportunities and also like, you know, extending those to other people. But like those make a significant, there's people in my life that have made a significant difference, even just doing a small thing. And I've bigged them up in the thank you notes of the book. Actually, you're actually in the thank you notes for the book.
I appreciate that, bro.
Organically, it's not like a...
No, I know, but still, I'm going to say appreciate it.
Yeah, it's all good. And it's probably like, sometimes it's like, maybe in my case, it's been one person maybe every couple of years that's just giving me like maybe an opportunity or made me see something in a different way. And that's like been that next leg up in terms of my thinking, in terms of my personal development. And yeah, I mean, just seeing, you know, like if someone is able to recognize something in you that you just think is normal, you know? And then I'm like, oh yeah, that's just what I do. I just read about philosophy and watch wrestling and listen to Grime. And they're like, what? I'm this doesn't make any sense. But to me, it makes complete sense. And then that is like the yellow squares is like probably the easiest filter of my thinking that you've ever seen.
And as you just explained it, like, reading philosophy, loves wrestling, all the things that you see. This is why it was really important for me to ask you about these things because I know about, like, I can see all of those things what you're doing, and now you're obviously communicating more about the everything is wrestling thing, which is a thing that, like, I'm not trying to be like, oh yeah, I thought about that too, but it's like, it's something in private I've said to a lot of people that when you look at the music business and you look at wrestling and you look at kind of, if you trace it back to things like Merkel Man, for instance, that is probably one of the clearest ideas of everything is wrestling. Yeah, gimmick, song, brand, music, sell off. You know what I'm saying? It's like, that was one of those things, and I think grime with the 8-bar reloads, you had a thing that people would be known for as a tag or a promo.
Just think of even like one thing that's special about grime is that the visual of the people, like, you can draw so many of the people. I say this all the time.
Clearly defined brands.
Yeah, it's nuts. Like, they just look like stars.
Like, I could draw Temper T.
You can draw Temper T, high top. Yeah. You can draw Jamie, do-rag. You can even draw Flavor D, hat, hair. Yeah. You can draw Big Nasty. Yeah. You can draw Big Zoo. You can draw like just
draw Wiley. You can draw Wiley, there's so many people you can draw, and it's clearly defined, right? And it's not gimmicks in the bad sense of the word. No. It's a gimmick as in, that's your container. Yes. Am I going to go to the shelf? I'm going to see that that's the can of Coke. Yeah. That's what it looks like. That's what it tastes like, and that's why I want to buy it. Yeah. And I did, and not to say that other people aren't, but I have always felt, looking backwards, that grime had clearly defined brands as MCs. Yep. And that we all bought into for all these different reasons. And then, doing a set was like the Royal Rumble. Yeah. And do you know what I'm saying? Like, and the DJ would reload it and put somebody over. Like, all the things that we would think of with everything is wrestling. Yes. Are so ingrained in just the culture of grime without people 100%. Even really knowing. So now you start sharing that online, but it's gassed me so much. It's like everybody needs to know this, man. Like, this is really important information. Or music branding, or branding yourself in general, like Vince McMahon, kayfabe, all of that stuff that business is built on. You can take a lot of that information and apply it to yourself. Exactly. Have success with it. Exactly. When I tell people my real name's not Elijah, they're like, what? It just messes their heads up. I would never have thought that, by the way. Yeah. And I'm like, you only know what I've told you. Yeah. And I feel like that's also part of my, like, art form. You know what I'm saying? I'm an artist as well in a different way. But actually having that boundary is, like, useful to me, you know what I'm saying? And I can play around with some of this stuff in an artistic fashion. And maybe there'll be other skills that I share later on down the line when I'm ready to be like, oh, like, right, you've changed character, or you changed gimmick, or you turned heel. You know what I'm saying? Eventually, like, I was threatening to turn heel for a while, to be honest, and I just didn't do it. like me talking about One Extra, I'm like, I thought I was being a babyface. No, it's a heel turn. That's a heel. Yeah, exactly. Turn. I'm like, I thought I was being a babyface, because you're like, with that, you're like the niggling, like, evil genius voice in the corner, like, look at you guys playing this American shit all day, every day. But it needs to happen though. 100%. I don't really listen to 1X anymore. Not because I don't. It's just because it's not in my just the way I consume music and just from a pattern and podcast and whatever. Like, I just don't find the time to do it. Your muscle memory. So it's not. Yeah, it's not because I turned it off or anything. It's just that I don't turn it on anymore. If you know what I mean. Okay. So I would never have known, apart from following you, that the level of US music that's being played and the kind of songs that are being played as well, because it's not always even just the current stuff. It's like there's a lot of space being taken up on the airwaves with catalog American music that could be used to promote, new, fresh and upcoming British black music. And I would never have known that until talking about that. Yeah. But I can imagine for some people, that's a bit of a like, bro, shut up, man. You know yeah, but not when you're actually trying to sell music. So, like, when you go through the process of, like, releasing a record, and then they're like, okay, cool, it got a play. I'm like, yeah, are you gonna play it again? And people look at you like you're crazy. I'm like, no. I'm like, are you gonna play it again and all of the time instead of playing Joe Budden Pump It Up?
And they're like, why would you do that? I'm like, why would you not do that? Why you? I thought you liked the song. I thought you gave it like it was the hottest song on Friday, and you can't play it again by next Wednesday. What's going on? This is crazy to me. And there's this like, these are my opinions, right? I'm not putting this on you. There's this process of getting like a record out of the studio and onto the radio. So you make it, mix, master, goes to a distributor. Maybe a lot of people use radio pluggers. So you're like paying some sort of like cartel to put it in the hands of the people on the air. This is normal.
This is normal.
Yeah.
It is known.
Sometimes running up thousands of pounds, right? Sometimes running up thousands of pounds. And then they can just email you back and go, yeah, got one play. What? Yeah, they like it. And maybe you get a playlist for 2 weeks and then that's it. And this is like just socially acceptable. I'm like, what other service in society works like this? This is like not okay. If the music and the record is good and it's connecting in different ways, why don't we just follow through, man? Just commit, man. I'm not asking for anything that crazy. And especially here, I live in London and I've got a lot of structural advantage there. Yeah. I'm like, okay, it's like an order of magnitude harder in Birmingham. Yeah. And then even more so if you're in Cardiff or if you're in Edinburgh or if you're in Sheffield. So why am I not hearing their voices? Why am I hearing a motherfucking PIMP in nearly 2025?
Yeah.
Some of these songs were made before the iPhone, made before social media. This is not funny. This is insanity. No, do you know the PIMP video?
As you strip the layers away, the nonsensicalness of it, if that's even a word, starts to appear like even more and more and more. Like everything that you say, I'm like, this is why I can't contain the smile about it. Because when you say things like, this was made before the iPhone. Yeah. I launched the iPhone with Apple. I used to work there. Yeah. I know how long ago that was. Yes. So, you know what I'm saying?
The iPod is in the PIMP video as like the thing. They're like, right, he's got an iPod. Yeah. The white one with the 4 buttons.
That was Martin, Jimmy Iovine and Steve Jobs and,
That's how long goes.
That was a wow moment.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to, again, if I put something out like that, I have to have the counterpoint. So my counter is, all right, here's a playlist of 100 black artists that have released music from 2020 to 2024. 100 different artists. So what are you saying? Why can't we play everything from Sampha to Lil Kana to Monzo to The Original to Names Bliss to Jim Legacy to Cat Burns to Jamila Barry to Hagen to KG? Like, what's the reason here? There's 100 active artists, more than 100 active artists from up and down the country making music. And you know what I'm going to do? My way to complete Black History Month, so I'm nearly finished, is 1,000 songs from Black British artists. 1,000 from the 70s until now. A playlist. So I don't want to hear anything about there ain't the music or there ain't the hits, it's all there. I'm saying? I'm going to put this front and center. But the music is there. The people have used their voice. And I want it represented at every possible junction. You know what I'm saying? And I want people that come into this country, come to London, come to Birmingham, to feel like they're in Birmingham, feel like they're in London. Feel like they kind of know us already. Not they're going to hear Chris Brown run it again.
Yeah, and this is important because obviously, you get off the plane in LA and making me really think, actually, because the journey of the way you've just described that, and I imagine it for myself. So when I get off the plane in France and I get in an Uber, and this has happened, I hear the French hip hop station, whatever, playing. And I'm just hearing French rap. And I'm asking the question, who is this? It's like a regular show. I remember there was a time when I remember the exact moment Fecky was playing in Paris and I flew out there randomly and then I had that experience of listening to the radio. Same thing happened in LA. and you hear like LA music playing, same thing happens, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Then I would say, listen to what you're saying, that the odds and likelihood of having that experience doing the same thing in the UK with so much American music being proliferated on the station is a lot lower.
Yeah.
And it gives me a lot of a higher barrier of entry to be able to kind of be an outsider.
Mm-hmm.
Say, yo, who's this, or what station is this, or you're just kind of hearing. If you're American, you're going to come over, you're going to hear a lot of your own music, and you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
So
and
that's an experiential thing that I think is really important.
Yeah, and like if you just take out all these numbers, all this other stuff, it's like I want this, like it's our pride, isn't it? Like people who've been able to use their voice to not even have the opportunity to like get your music played or whatever. It's like you're not participating in society, or not, your voice is not valued. And like that's deep, man. That makes people feel like it makes people feel like their voice isn't valued. And if their voice isn't valued in wider society in general, and then the station and the platforms that are set up to represent them do not represent them, that like messes you up. Do you know what I mean? That plays with your head.
You know, I hadn't thought about that from a sociological point of view.
Yeah, man. The same way of them taking away the manufacturing was more than like efficiency. If they kept it, there was a pride in building stuff, man. It's the same thing for artists. It's a pride in building stuff and getting your voice heard and out there and your points of view represented. It's like a disgrace, really, that you can't hear people from Birmingham, their music on the radio, not the presenters, the music from here that is made. We're in a studio surrounded by other people making music, and you can't hear it just easily.
And in a plentiful manner as well.
And proud, like
because
proud
there's a lot
to
of
represent
music that gets made. I remember just kind of like briefly to touch on something, my experience of Birmingham Pirate Radio and you know, West Midlands Pirate Radio in general, is there was a lot of shows and a lot of music getting made in these different regions, different, you know, Birmingham, Wolverhampton, Coventry, Warsaw, different people, different DJs, different stations, different shows, all playing a lot of music from these different people. Felt like there was vibrancy in that. And that doesn't feel like it happens anymore, even at a pirate level, even though there's a lot less pirates.
Of course.
I don't even think that you can classify them as pirates anymore. And then there isn't that kind of national, even local outlet to really do that at scale either. So there isn't that experience.
No.
And then you get the platforms. You know, Pure 1 is a great one. That's been the constant one for like 10 years now. But still, you don't get that kind of lean back listening, and I can just turn on the radio and I can just hear.
You walk into a coffee shop
and you just hear it. And you live it. You live it. It's all around you. You internalize the music from the local people that's being made, and that, I think that has a massive, and has had a massive effect on kind of pride,
100%.
quantity of music that gets played. Because if you know you're gonna get, because I remember being a DJ and people making music for me to play.
Yes.
Like, yo, Despa's gonna play. I'm making the music so it can get played on radio.
Exactly.
And having that kind of incentive to continue to do that.
Yeah. The same way man want to go to King's Cross today to spit. They had bars. They don't know where to go. And now AG's got a platform. They're like, you know what, I'm going to spit. Because there's somewhere to go. Whereas like 3-4 weeks ago, that wasn't even in their head. They're like, nah, there's I'm going to get seen. I'm going to be heard and represented in my most raw form possible. That's this. We can have this. We can have more of this. And the more this continues in the way it is, people can't even imagine something better. And that's something scary to think of, is that some of the things I'm talking about, people are like, yeah, but but what would it be like though? Like, I'm like, that's the bit that scares me.
You know what's really important, what you've just said? I saw a tweet this morning, and it was the first thing I saw when I got out of bed. So that just shows you how I'm addicted to my phone. But I saw a tweet, and it was basically that there'll be no club scene. I'm paraphrasing, but there'll be no, all the nightclubs are closing. There'll be no club scene. I have to go back to, well, not back to, the tweet didn't say that, but people will start having to have warehouse parties or whatever. And there was somebody that replied, warehouses, ? LOL. As is to say, what, people are going to be in warehouses playing music. But that was the thing that showed me that the historical element of, yo, you know there was warehouses parties in the 80s and 90s. That person doesn't know that.
Yeah.
They genuinely thought that was a madness to say that we're going to be listening to music in warehouses.
Yeah.
Then somebody had to explain to them that, you know, that used to happen. And they
Yeah.
were like, oh, really? Boom, 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 boom. And it's them not understanding and having that historical context to know how things were then. And I think that kind of leads into what you were saying just now.
Exactly. And
people not knowing
yes.
that things can be better than they are now because they haven't experienced that. It was so long ago when things were.
Even if the name comes from it. House music comes from warehouse.
People don't know that.
Exactly.
They don't know that.
Which is crazy. But like, again, this is why I repeat myself a lot. I have to like embed these things in our culture and in all this work that we do, is because it's not obvious. You know what I'm saying? Because you were born and it was already there. People are born 20 years old now and grime has been there their whole life. So you have to explain how you got there. It wasn't just there from when we were young. It was created. Like, people made effort to create the things that exist now.
And the man them didn't put the aerials for this. Again, another.
Oh my God.
I'm like, you know what? Because I've done that, bro.
Yeah.
Like, I went to the tower block. I climbed. I evaded security. Like, yo, I put up an aerial, bro. Like, so I didn't put the aerial for this. Like, as soon as you say so, well, a lot of people don't understand how hard it was for us to do what we did and to start this thing off, man. So yeah, like that to me was another one of those kind of like, oh man.
Yeah.
Like, from an idea, you're talking to people.
Yeah. The man didn't put up the aerials to this. Again, I've tried to flip it around and say, this is what the man didn't put up the aerials for. So these bunch of people, or this idea, or these are the people pushing it. You know what I'm saying? I've had to flip it around. Because it's not generative. So sometimes when you're like moaning about how things are, it doesn't create new ideas. But when people go, you know what, I've tried to get into a habit of, especially when I do the lectures and talks and people ask me questions, is having 10 people I can just say off the top of my head that are making sick stuff, or stuff that I enjoy, at least, you know what I'm saying? Or someone doing something interesting. Do you remember when you were doing betas, yeah? It reminds me of like what Cortez is now. Like, because there's infrastructure and it's like obviously a bit later in time, but you're like, that's what we were trying to do, but just with a lot less resources and a lot less information that was like widely accessible to us at that time. I'm like, oh, when I see these people doing it, I'm like, oh, yeah, sick. It's not like they're the first people with ideas. It's like, fucking respect to the guy. You gotta recognize when you see it, you're like, that is it.
Yeah, man.
That's what we was trying to do.
Yeah, man.
Sick, respect.
Bro, recently seen him at that iconic spot in New York with the Cortez logo behind him.
Yep.
And the Nike logo and the drones and the whatever. Bro, like, wow.
Yes.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like, wow.
Yeah.
And you have to respect it. And it's so inspirational. Not only for me, looking at it from like him as a younger person, like, yo, this is incredible. But then for somebody coming up looking at Clint, doing that, having that level of like, yo, that's important, man.
So everything from that
really
to just like, you know, the young kids with like the freestyle and it, and not even if it goes, it's just if I like it. It doesn't matter if it goes certain times. Like, obviously it does to them. Like, yeah, in the short term, make some money, whatever, fine. But sometimes when you just like it, you're like, okay, yeah, you did something, man. Like the Leo Stay Trill. Like, I'm like, yeah, when that happens for someone, you just like, sick, man. Like, man, and then people have been posting these old clips of him MCing at 13, 14 and stuff. Okay, man, like, those, man. That's you want more people to have like that pathway opened for them, and that moment to happen for more people. It doesn't have to be one at a time. It can be 10, it can be 20. If the door's really wide open, you know what I'm saying? And that's what I want for the second half of the decade. Before I kind of wrap up, but like the second half of the decade is like, let's take like we've had that 20 years of R&B and hip hop as the default, the thing people go to. All right, man, let's move on. Move on from that as the zero. So let's center Black British music, then the diaspora next. You know what I'm saying? Where people come from and what people are listening to. Not just West Africa, not just Jamaica. Wider. Learn about what other people are doing right now elsewhere. And then we have to find ways to like bridge the youngers and the olders so we can be in spaces together. I'm like, obviously certain times it's got to be 18 to 24. It's got to be 25 to 32. It's got to be 32 to 45. Like certain times. But where's the time when we're all together? What's the thing that we all celebrate or all share? And that's what I think One Extra can be. It can be from 13, your young ones, to 80, 90 plus, you know what I'm saying?
Mm.
And everyone feel like, oh, is that what the kids are doing? Yeah, all the way to silly games, to those records, and us having this like shared experience here, man. We're on a tiny island. To be so separate is so bizarre. You know what I'm saying? Like it's weird that we don't all know each other better.
Yeah,
as a people.
It's a small place. And
it's a small place.
And it's a small community.
And it's a small, we're 2% of the country.
Yeah.
Come on, man, we got to like, it's not just about pushing on the infrastructure that is there to serve us, quote unquote, but really, in my next half of the decade, I want my work to try and bring people together in different ways, not just on the basis of being Black and British, for example, but people creating interesting things, all ages, all mediums, and like, recognizing that we're all on this tiny island that seems to be getting smaller. The infrastructure seems to be crumbling. They're telling us they're taking more tax and there's going to be less things. So we're going to have to like start teaming up. Otherwise, there ain't going to be much left.
There has to be a pool in the resources, and there has to be a pool of energy and
exactly
striving to build this thing together.
Exactly. So the harder thing about maybe like the next wave and things that I want to do next is that I'm just going to be part of more things rather than just leading things by myself. You know what I'm saying? Or me and Skilliam. It's like I want to be part of teams. You know what I'm saying? In teams where I'm quiet. And in some teams where I'm loud. You know what I'm saying? 4 best crews in the game, I'm in them. And like, I need to join some other crews. I'm available. Recruit me.
Recruit you to the faction.
Yeah, recruit, yeah.
Well, this is such a perfect segue to where I was going to go. And it's because you've already covered what my last question was going to be, which was, where do you see yourself in 3 to 5 years? You've really eloquently covered that already with what you've just said. But I've had this question in my head pretty much the whole time we've been talking. If you were a WB or wrestling character in general, who would it have been?
I think like I enjoy the people that I guess were able to change characters like a lot. So like Jericho is someone that just like, he's gone through many different gimmicks and iterations and haircuts and dress sense and styles of talking. I think like that feels like the most fun because you never become like a parody of yourself and you don't have to stick to, let me tell you something, brother. Like, you know what I mean? You don't have to stick to that thing.
Now you see Mean Gene.
Yeah, like you can move on with the times and I guess that would just never get boring. And as if something stops working, you can move on. And that's like really being an artist, you know what I'm saying? Whereas I think some of the time you end up being, a fixed character, like a cartoon character basically, and staying in that role. Whereas I think Jericho's got the career where he's been able to be many characters. It's nearly like not one wrestler. Different in WCW, in CMLL, in New Japan, in AEW, different characters, different moments. I don't like all of them. But it seems like probably the most fun to do. So yeah, maybe that's the first person off the top of my head.
That's a really good choice. Yeah. And I completely understand why.
Yeah.
Elijah, thank you for coming in, bro.
Thank you.
I'm gutted we got a wrap, but you know what? We definitely need to do this again because we could have talked for like another 2 hours.
We'll do it in December 2029.
December 2029. Yeah. Okay, deal. And I'll see you then. I'll see where I am in 5 years and we'll see where you are in 5 years.
I'm mad grateful for you, man. Thank you.
And I appreciate you too, bro.
Thank you.